Hi, welcome back. This is Andrew Sears again. And in this session, I'm going to talk about CityVision's faculty development strategy. So this helps you think about, where are you going as faculty with CityVision? Do you want to stay where you are? How do we move folks, through the onboarding process to becoming, regular adjunct faculty? So with that, let me just kind of show you what the process is. So you start off as faculty in training with CityVision. Then you can become regular adjunct faculty after you've done that for a while. And you can do effective teaching of multiple courses. Then you can become lead faculty, and I'll talk about some of the roles with that. And then as you gain expertise in online teaching, then you can become a faculty coach. So then that's one track. So that's our online teaching track. Then there's a course design track over here. And if you're interested in course design, the way to do that is to come to us and to let me know that you want to do a course feedback form. Sometimes we'll invite you to give a course feedback form. And really what that is that's your final exam to see, can you provide the level of detail that's required for, being a course designer. So, in doing that, you need to go through, there's another week that we have on how do you submit a course feedback form. So those faculty that submit a very effective course feedback form, then we will invite a subset of them to become course designers in training and the subject matter expert. And then after they've gone through our course and they gain expertise, then they become a subject matter expert course designer. Now, we are adding a new stage below this, which we call a course owner. And that's the person who will continue to maintain a course over time. And with this, we have the department chair. So a department chair needs to be able to coach the faculty in their department, and they need to be able to own the course content for at least a significant portion of their department. And we have a free course and program design. So we have a free course in instructional design and free course in program design that you can go through to learn these things. And then we have some teaching assistants and we have some partnership coordinators. So what is the difference between the role of a lead faculty and regular faculty? So lead faculty set up meetings with other faculty before the term. They manage check-ins with faculty before and after Zoom meetings. So they are coordinating, whereas regular faculty just attend. They sometimes will coordinate which faculty grade which students. Actually, moving forward, we're going to be doing that. But you can give feedback to us, I guess. But once the first day of the course starts, it's locked in. And then post weekly overview. The biggest difference is leading Zoom meetings and posting the weekly overview. So lead faculty is required to post a weekly overview and announcements to students. Whereas regular adjunct faculty can do that if asked, but it's not required. So that would be if asked by the lead faculty. So grade students across all weeks is the same. Lead and coordinate Zoom meetings. So lead faculty always do that unless they delegate that to someone else. Leading breakout rooms and Zoom meetings. So both do that. Report to administration if faculty are not meeting expectations. So as a lead faculty, you should be monitoring what your other faculty are doing as much as possible. We have other people who do that. But you're making sure the overall quality of your course is good, whereas regular adjunct faculty really only let us know for the lead faculty if it's something egregious, because we've had that happen where someone's not a lead faculty, but the lead faculty is not fulfilling their requirement. Do you serve as primary support to faculty? Neither side does. So support at cityvision.edu does. So that is the lead faculty role. So we have the course writing roles. So we have an instructional design assistant. So that is where you move to being paid hourly to perform course updates. And then we have an instructional designer where you're paid hourly to perform course updates and design new courses. To do that, you need to go through our free course on instructional design. And then there's the department chair where, again, we have a free course in program design. Now, one of the tools we use as faculty in the assignment that we have this week actually has you go through a tool that is called Team Profile or role preference. And what it talks about is all projects in all institutions go through different phases. So you start in the design phase, then you move to design develop. So this is just the idea. This is where you're, actually starting to work on it. This is where you develop. This is where you develop stable, and this is where it's stable. And often this is how the organization works. So you have a visionary CEO or VP, then you have a VP or divisional chair, managers, senior staff. Now, for a large construction project, what this might look like is you have 5 architects, you have 10 on-site in planning, construction, and engineers, you have 20 project foremen or project managers, you have 100 master tradesmen, and then you have 500 construction workers. Now, what a large online university that, say, has 10,000 students or more, you're going to have a president and chief academic officer that are going to be up here. Then you're going to have deans and VPs that are more at the design develop level. Then you have department chairs and directors that are more at the develop level. And then you have the full-time faculty that are kind of like the master tradesmen. Then you have adjunct faculty and administrative staff that handle the stable path. Now, part of the reason why I am explaining all this is I want to explain one of the biggest challenges that we run into with faculty is often we bring faculty who've been senior leaders in their field, and all of a sudden they're teaching online and they have to go through a pretty dramatic learning curve, and it kind of changes some of the requirements. So let me talk about what that looks like. So the stable phase is more the Myers-Briggs detail-oriented and organized, where you have clear parameters and structure. You have structured methodology, fixed methodology. It's often more specialist-driven. It's very stable. There's more jobs, less competition. Over here, it's more big picture. It's more lean startup, adaptable methodology. It's where you have generalists and you need a lot of synthesis. It's where there's growth and change, and there's less jobs and more competition. Now, at City Vision University, adjunct faculty largely are over here. They're doing grading feedback, forum participation, and they're doing live meetings. So that's the activities. The competencies are attention to detail, grading feedback, having a caring and relational approach, cultural competency, and then subject matter expert and the discipline competency. Now, what this looks like at the next level, the develop stable, that would be your an expert teaching faculty or a coach or a lead faculty. And there, some of the differences between these two is you might provide suggestions on detailed course improvements. You might have proactive interaction with students in meetings and forums. So one of our faculty has just been doing an amazing job of, reaching out to students and meeting one-to-one with them with Zoom, providing detailed feedback in the course feedback log. And here you have expertise in online teaching best practices. You understand not just attention to detail, but you understand the details of what makes online courses effective. You are an expert in faith integration. How do you communicate your faith effectively through online teaching? You're able to run Zoom meetings highly effectively, and you have a good understanding of City Vision's values and processes. So part of the reason why I'm communicating this to you is every faculty member, in my opinion, almost always starts here, even if they've been teaching online forever, because they still need to learn City Vision's values, processes, tech, and context. Now, you may be able to move quickly over here, or you may not. You may decide that, I'm working a full-time job, and, using the example of learning Spanish, your goal isn't to write the greatest novel in Spanish. Your goal is just to get passable Spanish. And you want to get some proficiency in teaching online, but you're not going to try to become a guru. The point is that you have to become a guru the more you move to the left on this. And becoming a guru, it's a whole nother field, right? So if you want to be, say, a VP of academic administration, a department chair, a faculty coach, or a course writer, then you're going to have to learn other things. So the activities here: faculty coaching, doing new course design and standardized subjects, doing partnership development. And what you're going to need is extraordinary expertise in online teaching. You're going to need experience in online course design, faith integration, knowing how to do that in online course design, very good understanding of City Vision's values, processes, tech, and context, practical cultural competency in course design. So, how do you create courses for Christians that are serving the poor and the addicted, subject matter expertise, and ability to develop partnerships. And then there is this next level, and this is what the President Chief Academic Officer does. So design of faculty systems, training, support, and evaluation, new program design, new course design for non-standard and interdisciplinary subjects. So sometimes we've assigned faculty to create new courses and non-standard subjects, and it's someone who's more core competencies in the develop stage, and it becomes really difficult because this is much more, there's a lot more unknowns. And then suggesting overall program improvements. And here you need to have extraordinary expertise in online program and course design, expertise in faith integration, deep understanding of City Vision values, processes, tech, and contacts, extraordinary experience in faith integration and practical competency, expertise in accreditation requirements and related educational theory, and departmental subject matter expertise. So, the challenge that we have, if I had to, and the last category is pure research. The challenge that I have is that the biggest group that we have of faculty is most of them are over in this design develop phase. So we did a survey of our faculty, and this is what City Vision needs. Is we need to have a lot more of the frontline workers, so 20 to 40 regular adjunct faculty, and then we need 10 experts in online education that are part-time, 4 existing FTE staff, and then at the develop phase we need some expert course writers, some expert faculty coaches, some quarter-time or half-time chairs, and a VP of academic administration, and then right now I'm at the design phase. But what's happened is whenever we had our faculty complete this, we had 2 of our faculty that wanted to be pure visionary, so pure design. We had 22 that would essentially want to be deans. So we'd have to have 22 schools. We're not big enough to do that. We had 8 department chairs of 8 departments, and then 9 lead faculty. Now, the reason for this is that most of the faculty there's 3 domains of competence for City Vision faculty. One is subject matter competence. So, you're a senior leader in a rescue mission or some sort of ministry or in some sort of leadership or business context. And so you already have that. But then there is online education competence. So that's a distinct field requiring significant training and very high attention to detail. And then there's acculturation and contextual understanding. So understanding City Vision students or culture or approach or procedures. And what happens with faculty is they have this expertise in their primary field, and you're an expert in grant writing or expert in counseling, and you're able to work at in your sweet spot if you're in design develop or develop, because these match. But if someone wanted to be a grant writer but they didn't have a huge amount of expertise, and they said, well, I'm just going to take the lead on all your grant writing, and they don't have that expertise, you're not going to let them do that. So that's, under the curve here. But the reality is that you also need to have expertise in online education. So, do you have the attention to detail, and feedback and grading, and course content, and instructional design, and an online program design that would enable you to take that leadership role? And some people want to do that and some people don't. So that's what the 3 domains of competency are. Now, we have 3 sources of City Vision faculty typically, and different values alignment and training needs. So one is, the largest source is nonprofit or ministry staff. So with our 3 values of Jesus, justice, tech, generally our sources will have 2 of our 3 values. So this group comes in with Jesus, justice. So these are Christians who are serving the poor or working in the nonprofit sector. and their biggest need is to learn online education. Then we have those who are already providing practical, affordable online education. This might be for a secular institution, but they're providing practical, affordable online education. So there, because what they're doing is it's affordable and often practical, it meets our justice criteria. They know how to do online education, but they need to learn how do you do Christian education online. And then we have another group that does online Christian higher education. And this group is the Jesus Tech group, and they need to learn to do education for those serving the poor and the addicted. Now, we do get faculty that only have one of these, so it might be Christian higher education. They don't have online experience, and they don't have experience in working with the poor, and then they're going to have a longer learning curve. So, as I mentioned in an earlier training, our target really is kind of this, lower middle class to middle class audience. And CCCU schools, community colleges. So, we overlap with community colleges. We don't overlap with a lot of the average, Christian school that has high tuition. And the question is, where is your cultural center in this diagram? Most City Vision faculty who stay with us long term have a cultural center like this red target, and they stay here because that's who they want to serve. That's kind of at the core. If that isn't your core, it's just a question of, are you willing and able to operate from the preferences of City Vision's target students? So it'd be like, if you're a musician and you're going to be in the worship team at a Black church, you're going to probably do Black church music, right? So that's basically, what we're saying. And, for some musicians, that's going to be great. It'd be great fun. They're adapting to a different worship style. And, but for other musicians, they're going to feel like, wow, my strengths really aren't coming out here. So that's part of what you need to look at. So what does this look like on a practical level? Academic theory versus practical application. So is our primary focus on preparing students as practitioners or preparing them for academic careers? Having been in academia and gone through MIT and, the heights of academia, the whole academia is a caste system with, the faculty on top of the caste system, then the PhDs. And the idea is that the whole thing's set up so unless you're pursuing a PhD, you're not really what the system was designed for. That's not our philosophy. That's a problem from our perspective. So, and part of it is a lot of people don't understand what the theory is that's gone into designing existing academic institutions. And that's really the underlying engine that drives these schools, is that they produce as many PhDs as possible. And then that's going to provide, a larger faculty pool and help the revenue. But what we're trying to do is to prepare students as practitioners. We prioritize effective growth and skills learning over, versus overly cognitive learning. And then practical formatting of papers versus emphasis on APA and style and nonprofit courses. The other is different assumptions on informing pedagogy and andragogy. So those are big words of, philosophy of education. Andragogy is for adults. So Christian higher education assumes upper middle class white students as the audience. Now, we have many upper middle class white students, but our average students is age 40, is probably working class. And, just as an example, Christian community development as a course, one of the key values is relocation. So the assumption is that someone didn't live in the inner city and didn't grow up poor, and they're going to relocate to work, among the poor. Well, it's a different, assumption if you're a school like City Vision, where the majority of our students have had a background, either working or living among the poor. The other difference is secular schools, they assume an objectivist framework. The reality is that framework really is pervasive in Christian higher education. And that becomes, problematic. So, but Christians that come from secular schools, I often find amazing Christians that have really deep faith, say in the field of counseling, but they've never, went to a Christian school on how do you do faith integration in the field of counseling. Where are the limits? How do you define that? How do you teach that? Well, that in itself, you could get a PhD on, and many people have. So, there's a whole big learning curve, on that. So that's what that looks like on a practical level. And then different definitions of quality and, quality versus value. So, are you focusing on standardization and low error rate? So versus adaptability, relevance, and innovation. So why is that relevant? Most of our students are in environments that require them to be highly adaptable, highly relevant, and highly innovative. So our whole philosophy, so lean startup is a methodology that's used in these type of environmental context. Most universities are based around standardization and low error rate. It's factory model, it's Six Sigma, it's how do you reduce errors so that, you have one error in, a million. Whereas what this is saying is that the environment's changing so much that we're not going to get to that low of an error rate. What we're focusing on is how do we adapt to the environment. So then there's business definitions of quality versus relational, cultural, and ministry definitions of quality. So, it's not all about the money. It can be about how you're changing lives. And then another example is, a lot of students who are used to paying for an expensive school, $30,000 a year tuition, it's like a full service restaurant. You're going to have a waiter, you're going to get all of these things. For our students, we try to do as much as we can. We try to be as high quality as we can. We want to be a value opportunity, but we're more like a fast casual restaurant. Those are the restaurants where you order up front and then they bring you the food. So you get high quality food, but it reduces the cost by not having to have nearly as much wait staff. We don't want to be like fast food. We're not going for, the cheapest possible. This next part, I'm going to cover the 4 dimensions of acculturation and competency for online teaching with City Vision. So the first part, and we'll probably create rubrics in our evaluation in the future on this. So spiritual formation and life transformation online. So that's the Jesus value. The ideal is, can you provide feedback in online forums and assignments that lead live discussions in ways that that bring life transformation to be more like Jesus? So can you do that through an online way? Can you communicate effectively online that's going to bring life transformation through the medium formats that we have, online forums, assignments, and live discussions? Then there's a cultural competency. So the ideal is that you're providing feedback in forum and assignments and live discussions that show fluency and diverse cultures of our students and reflect the values of Christians serving the poor and the addicted and help them in practical ways. Then the third area is tech. Are you providing feedback in forums and live discussions in ways that reflect the best practices of accredited online education? And then discipline competency is provide feedback in forums and assignments and live discussions that would be comparable to top leaders in your field. So those are all the things for online, and those are high bars. It's a really high bar to be able to do all those, but that's the point of what I'm saying is assess how much you want to develop these as skills, and then see what you can do. And then there's the 4 dimensions of acculturation and competency for course design. So Christian integration. So can you design online courses integrating their discipline with a Christian worldview comparable to the top leaders in Christian higher education in their field? So you go to a top Christian counseling program, and whenever they write their courses, it's going to be brilliant in how they integrate in, the Christian worldview into, a secular field in a way that the Christian worldview is, dominant in that. Then cultural competency. So can you design online courses that are practical, that are effective and culturally relevant to Christians serving the poor and the addicted? Online education. Are you designing courses, programs, processes, and policies that reflect the best practices of accredited online education? And then discipline. Are you demonstrating, subject matter expertise in your discipline, comparing to top leaders in your field in your course design? So that's a lot of material. I hope this isn't too intimidating for you. The point of this, I think the point that I really want people to get out of this is there's a lot to online education. And a lot of you aren't going to become, amazing gurus. The question is, are you going to be okay with the role that we have at some of these, lower level in the role profile? Or do you want to advance? And if you want to advance, do you want to go through the whole full faculty development process? We provide you with additional resources. Many of you are working highly demanding jobs. You're just not going to be able to do that. But if you stay with us, a lot of our faculty have been with us for 10 years. If you stay with us for 10 years, you probably will become, pretty effective at what you do. And the reality is that for most of our faculty, they have, 2 or 3 of these areas that they're really good at, that they stand out on. And part of the reason why we like to have our faculty teach in teams is because their strengths can complement each other. So hopefully all this is helpful, and thanks a lot.